In Warhammer 40,000, a Psyker is not just a wizard with a different coat of paint. A Psyker is a living doorway, a human mind with a crack in it, and on the other side of that crack is the warp. That means a Psyker can read thoughts, throw lightning, see the future, speak across the stars, or guide ships through impossible space.
It also means the same Psyker can become a beacon for demons, a weapon for tyrants, or the first screaming sign that an entire world is about to die. The Imperium needs Psykers to survive, but it also fears them more than almost anything else. So it hunts them, chains them, tests them, sacrifices them, trains them, and sometimes turns them into monsters.
Tonight, we are going into the black ships, the sanctioning chambers, the battlefields, and the golden heart of Terra. What are Psykers in Warhammer 40K, and why is being born psychic almost never a gift?
The simple answer is that Psykers are people who can touch the warp with their minds. In Warhammer 40K, psychic power is like handling a live reactor while standing in a room full of hungry ghosts. The warp is a dimension of emotion, thought, nightmare, and spiritual force. It is where daemons live, where the chaos gods have their power, and where faster-than-light travel becomes possible. A Psyker draws power from that place and pushes it into reality. That power can be subtle, like a whisper in another person's thoughts, or catastrophic, like a storm of fire tearing through soldiers.
But the danger is always built into the gift, because the warp does not stay quietly on the other side of the wall. It presses back.
Every use of psychic power can attract attention from things that want a body or a way into the material universe. That is why the Imperium does not look at a psychic child and see a miracle, but a possible weapon and a possible extinction event.
Humanity did not always understand psychic power in the way the Imperium understands it now. Long before the 41st millennium, mankind spread across the stars during an age of science, and psychic mutation began appearing more widely among human populations. Some humans became Astropaths, battle Psykers, prophets, and seers.
Others became unstable conduits for warp entities, dragging possession, madness, and demonic outbreaks into ordinary settlements. The Age of Strife turned this danger into a galactic disaster. Warp storms cut human worlds apart, old empires collapsed, and Psykers were often feared as witches, disasters, or living curses.
By the time the Emperor began the Great Crusade, he was trying to unify a species that already associated psychic power with apocalypse. The cruel part is that the Emperor also knew humanity's future was psychic. Mankind was slowly becoming a more psychic species, and no empire could simply pretend that change was not happening. So, the Imperium's policy towards Psykers is built on contradiction from the very beginning. Psykers are dangerous enough to be controlled with terror, but important enough that the Imperium cannot get rid of them.
To understand Psykers, you have to understand that their power does not come from a clean battery. It comes through the warp, and the warp is shaped by emotion, belief, fear, rage, despair, hope, and obsession. Disciplined minds can use psychic power, but fear, pain, and pride all open doors.
The moment a Psyker overreaches, the moment their will falters, something in the warp may notice the light and push back through it. That is possession. It is an alien spiritual predator forcing its way through a human soul and wearing that person like a doorway.
This is why untrained Psykers are so feared across the Imperium. An ordinary rebel may kill a governor, but an unsanctioned Psyker may accidentally invite a daemon into a crowded hive city. The Imperium is paranoid because, in this one case, paranoia has evidence.
When the Imperium finds human Psykers, it does not usually leave them with their families. They are collected by the Adeptus Astra Telepathatica, often through the dreaded black ships that travel from world to world. The ships gather a psychic tithe from Imperial worlds, taking people who show signs of warp sensitivity.
Some are children, some are adults who hid their powers for years, and some have done nothing except be born with the wrong kind of soul. The black ships carry them towards Terra, where they will be judged, sorted, trained, sacrificed, or destroyed. The Imperium does not have a gentle school system for psychic talent. It has an extraction pipeline. The state finds the Psyker, removes the Psyker, and decides whether that life has military, spiritual, or logistical value. From the Imperium's point of view, this is necessary survival. From the Psyker's point of view, it is often the end of being a person and the beginning of being a resource. The lucky Psykers are the ones strong enough, stable enough, and useful enough to be sanctioned. A sanctioned Psyker has been tested, trained, soul-scoured, and officially permitted to serve the Imperium. That permission matters, because without it, psychic ability is treated as witchcraft, heresy, or a contamination risk. Sanctioned Psykers may serve in the Imperial Guard, the Inquisition, the Adeptus Astra Telepathica, or other arms of the Imperial machine. On the battlefield, they can become living artillery, defensive shields, interrogators, prognosticators, and terror weapons. But sanctioning does not make them safe. It makes them licensed. A sanctioned Psyker still carries the same basic danger. The warp is close, the soul is exposed, and every act of power has a cost. This is why Imperial Psykers are often watched by handlers, officers, commissars, inquisitors, or other authorities ready to kill them if they lose control. The Imperium does not trust its own tools. It merely cannot fight without them.
Some Psykers are not primarily battlefield weapons. They are the nervous system of the Imperium. Astropaths are soul-bound Psykers used for communication across interstellar distances. In a galaxy where ordinary signals cannot cross the stars fast enough, astropaths send messages through the warp.
Their work is difficult, dangerous, and often symbolic of the whole Imperium, blind, painful, necessary, and barely holding together. Many astropaths undergo soul binding to the Emperor, a process that strengthens them but often damages or blinds them. Then there is the Astronomican, the psychic beacon that helps navigators guide ships through the warp.
It is not a radio tower, but a galaxy-spanning lighthouse powered by psychic sacrifice and focused through the Emperor on the Golden Throne. Without the Astronomican, Imperial travel would become vastly more difficult, and the Imperium would fracture even faster than it already is. That is the terrible scale of the Psyker problem.
The Imperium persecutes Psykers as witches, but its armies, messages, trade routes, and crusades depend on psychic infrastructure. It hates the thing it cannot live without.
Different imperial institutions treat Psykers in different ways, but none of them treat psychic power casually. Space Marine Librarians are warrior scholars who combine transhuman discipline with carefully controlled psychic ability. They read omens, shield their brothers, blast enemies with warp power, and preserve chapter memory.
They also remind us that even the Adeptus Astartes cannot make psychic power harmless. The Inquisition uses Psykers too, especially when hunting demons, cults, witches, and Xenos threats. The system condemns dangerous power in public, then keeps a locked room full of dangerous power for emergencies. Imperial battle Psykers serve closer to the mud and blood of ordinary war. They may stand behind guard lines, bleeding from the nose, and turning the enemy's courage into panic.
That tension is the essence of the Sanctioned Psyker. They are honored when useful, hated when feared, and expendable when inconvenient.
An unsanctioned Psyker is someone with psychic power outside Imperial control. That can mean a terrified child in a mining hab, a cult prophet in a hive basement, or a rogue witch hiding among refugees. Some unsanctioned Psykers are innocent, and some are genuinely monstrous.
The Imperium is not very interested in distinguishing the two, unless someone powerful forces the issue. The reason is blunt. An untrained Psyker can become a doorway for something worse than themselves. Chaos cults often seek them, manipulate them, or build rituals around them.
Daemons may tempt them with voices, visions, or promises of control. This is why Imperial law uses the language of witches and abominations. It is cruel and often unjust, but it is also reacting to a universe where witches can genuinely split open reality. Warhammer 40K is grim because both things are true at once. The witch hunter may be a fanatic, and the thing he is hunting may still destroy a city if ignored. Humans are not the only psychic species in Warhammer 40K. The Aeldari are profoundly psychic, but they handle that power through discipline, spirit stones, runes, and ancient caution born from catastrophe. Their civilization was shattered by psychic excess and the birth of Slaanesh, so their fear of uncontrolled emotion is not theoretical.
Orcs have a collective psychic field that helps bind their culture, technology, and violence together. Tyranids project the shadow in the warp, a smothering presence generated by the hive mind. Chaos sorcerers use warp power more openly, but that freedom is usually another word for debt.
Compared with all of them, human psykers feel especially tragic. They belong to a species stumbling into psychic evolution while ruled by an empire that answers spiritual danger with chains, fire, and paperwork. The most important thing about psykers is not that they can do impossible things, it is that the impossible thing is happening to them first. A psyker may be born into poverty, nobility, war, or devotion, but the warp does not ask whether that person is ready. Power arrives before permission. Fear arrives before training. The voices may arrive before anyone explains what a daemon is. That is why psykers make the setting so effective. They are the human cost of living in a universe where souls are real, gods are predatory, and survival often means joining the machine that terrifies you. The Imperium solution is horrifying, but the absence of a solution may be worse. If the Imperium treats psykers humanely, it risks catastrophe from the ones it cannot control. If it treats them brutally, it creates exactly the desperation chaos loves. There is no clean answer, which is why psykers sit at the heart of Warhammer 40K's grim-dark identity. So, what are psykers in Warhammer 40K? They are people whose minds touch the warp, making them some of the most useful and most dangerous beings in the Imperium. They carry messages between stars, guide armies, shield warriors, expose heresy, and keep the machinery of empire moving.
They are also hunted, chained, sacrificed, possessed, and feared by the same civilization that depends on them. If Space Marines show the Imperium's dream of controlled strength, Psykers show its nightmare of uncontrolled potential. They prove that humanity's future may be psychic, but in the 41st millennium, that future arrives screaming in the hold of a black ship.
Thank you for joining Lore Heretic in the Archives tonight. If this little expedition into grimdark lore earned its candlelight, subscribe, pull up a chair, and I will see you in the next one.